and was loving it, and her and Tank were a number, so everything was falling right into place with everything. Caden was getting so big as he always loved going and chewing gum and with the gym with his dad, uncles, and he'd try to pick up a dumbbell and lift it up and down as they'd laugh and say, "Yep, he's definitely your kid." And he'd laugh and smile as they continued before dispersing and all going home, as Caden wanted a milkshake, so Diesel stopped and got him one on the way home. As he handed it to him, telling him not to make a mess, as he buckled him in his booster seat, car seat duo, and continued home. Talking animals, what? That night, an unexpected storm blew through Anchorage like nobody's business and lasted a few hours, as it was so weird. A snow and debris tornado? What? It took an hour to pass and clear up. But when it did, you saw two lightning bolt flashes in the clouds. It was as if nothing had happened. Everything but a couple sheds were all unscathed. Everyone was astonished and highly confused at the same time, looking around, and the roaring of it was bone-chilling. But everything and everyone is just fine. Someone off into the far distance said it could have been like a vortex, as everyone retreated back to their homes from their sidewalks and would be talking about and speculating many times over from time to time. Meanwhile, at Vixina's magical tribe ranch, she seemed off as she looked around outside her doorway, scoping out her property, thinking why there's a whole new vibe, almost like happy gas. But little did she know it was indeed happy gas. Everyone was acting like fools on the daily with his shenanigans. They've gone mad. Happy Town. Foos. What? Smiling, big macking on Vixina. Foos' girlfriend, Banika, was looking at him like he was going mad, yet checking Diesel out at the same time. And Diesel says, "I'm gonna kick your ass after I'm done laughing," which is why laughter. And why am I laughing? And Vixina backs up as everyone starts to mellow down and unwind back to normal, or at least they're kind of normal anyways. They all gathered around trying to figure things out once again as Caden comes around the corner of the house talking off as he never does. "Hey Dad, I was just at the horses' paddock watching the horses run. One, I didn't know the horses can talk," his dad says. "They can't," as he replies with, "Well then, what's a pompous ass? Because that horse stopped running, turned and looked at me, and called me that." As his dad and the others laughed, as he was told to go inside and find something to do, as he did so. "I know kids have a vivid imagination, but holy hell," replied Skeeter. LMAO moment. As Diesel replies, yeah, except for the fact that no one really curses around him and he don't know any curse words. So where did that come from? He knows better. We raised him right. I mean, come on, dude. Talking horses. Foos, did you leave the gate open again to your cow pasture and mushrooms? Foos, yeah, no, besides that area is all surveillance too, dumbass. As a black and brown duck waddled by and says, fuck you, that horse is raging, I'm getting out of here. As their jaws dropped, stunned, as he walked by and went into the lake and floated peacefully. As Foos replies with, what the hell is going on around here? Talking horses? Ducks? Oh, I wonder if all animals are talking. But it was only in their town, their own town. Certain people they'll give intel to, as odd as that sounds, as they were definitely shocked and amazed. Everyone gathered to Tank's place as they all gathered around the bar in the kitchen area while they tried talking things out as they talked amongst each other for hours, talking and piecing everything together once again, laughing and joking around with the subject to make light of it, as they say, hey, great, we got a toxic gas that came in and made animals talk and act like total jackasses. Foos. No, that's a donkey. Oh, my bad. The guys, of course, laughed. As Tank's dog laid on the kitchen floor, Reaper says, well, y'all are just a bunch of idiots. As Tank says, coming from someone who licks his own balls for a living. Reaper, touche. Anyways, it's the gas. It's coming from the enchanted forest which surrounds all this, as this town has magical properties everywhere, but that's all I know, and the side effects to us. Wait, what? The dog Reaper is talking? Well, it's permanent, so fuck yeah to that. Permanent. As he put his head down and went to sleep. Diesel. Well, there you go, folks. But if we say we got intel from a pit bull dog, they'll look at us like we've lost our marbles, so what do we do now? As Arkina suggests they explore the forest and gear up with all they can. If what he says is true, they're in for a journey, but at least he can relate and relax. Intel on the dog side of things. Doggy dogs. The guys loaded their trucks up and loaded down. Everyone's gathering duffels full of drinks and camera gear. Vixina goes to her place and went to Hannah and says, okay, show me. Hannah is the stone statue. As her hands opened as well as the key as she rushed and put them in her backpack and rushed back as they all set out with the 4 trucks. And there's a small cabins back there, and a lot of them were like villages. Very scheduled with a lake and tree swing and grill area so they could camp if needed be. When Vixina was standing by the crystal lake and Diesel walked up, she'd say that she'd always dreamt of this place in her dreams, and I know it's connected to my property. I just don't know how. Yet, anyways, they talked for a bit before everyone gathered around the fire pit of the dark of the night and all huddled around it in lawn chairs, all looking around and talking about the speculations of this place. But word of mouth, it was beautiful, though without a doubt looking like something out of a mix of the rainforest and Fern Gully. They had their dogs with them, of course, randomly going around saying things as they say. Some say there were witches and fairies, wizards that ruled this land in the 1812. The huge waterfall that overlooks the massive lake is supposed to be the lake of magic, as it has healing properties, youth properties, and electricity, as they call liquid electricity. It don't hurt, it just surrounds your body with rainbow light colors and dissipates, and only happens to certain people. Apparently, they have to be special or some shit. So this land is protected and only certain people who live in this town know about it, replies Vixina. Yeah, odd, says Arcano. When Foos woke at the break of dawn, wiping his eyes, walking out the front door of the cabin, when he saw a monkey sitting on a chair like a human, just looking at him. But when he wiped his eyes again, it was gone. You saw that too? As he looked over and saw Tank with a cup of coffee. Yeah, this place is mighty strange, to say at the least. Part. Yeah, tell me about it. Treasure hunting we will go. This whole year's been off the chain. Foos scuffs followed by, yeah, I know, right? As everyone starts to wake and get coffee to start their morning at 6 a.m. They had 3 extendable portable metal detectors and 4 compasses as they all backpacked up and set off, walking up the trails, looking around as early and quiet as they can be. Very eerie. You heard owls from the distance, rabbits and does scurrying and foraging about, birds all perched on trees and eating off of the ground. But as the night grew, as it took them all day walking, the night grew thin and started to get dark as they stopped to rest for a bit. As they've been walking for 12 hours and didn't seem that long, with all them talking and joking around, roasting each other, all in good old fun to pass the time. Caden was with Grandma D, for the night, and she was taking him to the miniature skate park for afternoon, as they had kiosks there too. So he was so excited he could get a hot dog with relish. Now being 4, they all got separated as a 5-foot elf guy in his early 20s was hitting and macking hardcore with Vixena, as all you saw next to Diesel was a swing, and then his arm swung and clocked him, laid out cold on the ground. He says, "Did you just hit an elf?" As he replies with, yeah, I think I did. That one will go down in the books." As he looks, yeah, he'll be sleeping for a while. As they walk away, "I bet you won't see him for a while. Ha ha ha." They journeyed on through as they came to a fork with a sign that read, "Forest of Wonders," with an arrow pointing one way, and says, "Forest of Dreams and Wishes," with an arrow pointing the opposite way, and a sign in the center that read, "The Heart of the Forest," as they went straight, creeping along, hoping there would be a clearing ahead. Of course, as always, Foos had to be the class clown and jumping from limb to limb of trees before falling out and landing face first on the brick trail. Ugh. Tank replies with, "Serves you right, jackass." And they laughed and continued on down the trail, looking around, scoping out the area, as Vix Arcana walked near Tank the guys, but things were gonna get a little rough with the terrain and mood swings, to which would make for a bad night entirely. Frustrations. As they walked, that annoying monkey jumped off of a tree and onto Fuse's head, punching him in the head, pulling his hair, and slapping him on the face. As he was trying to pull him off, spinning around in circles, with everyone around him laughing hysterical and laughing their asses off, until he finally took it off with his gold chain around his neck and went up into the trees and pointing at him before running off. "Little motherfucker that cost me $700. They messed with him hardcore the rest of the day until they came to another clearing with small cabins spread out like before and inhabited, as they stopped to rest for the night, as it was like the last camp site. Frustrations continued. They were all the same, but just in different areas. But this one had a massive hot spring, clear as crystal. They all jumped in and awed with their achy joints and muscles from the long walk, as they sat there and talked for a while. And a 4-foot elf and a duck had been spotted periodically over by the open trail woodline, but would vanish, as Tilly says, "Did you see that?" And they all said, yeah, and agreed. That was odd and strange, yet intriguing at the same time. Page 97. Camp Magic. But by the end of the night, the couples were spending much needed time together as the others explored the area, drank, and acted dumb. But little did they know they were in for a hell of a night, for damn sure, as Foos brought back a whole basket of mushrooms, and soon they'd be tripping balls. He didn't know it was that kind of mushrooms. He just thought they could cook them up for food and eat them. As they'd eat it, pass a piece around campfire while passing a J and a bottle of Jack Daniels. Their night was about to get real funny, starting with that damn monkey. There, you little motherfucker. There you are, I found you. He grabs him. Come here. As they all stood there and watched in sheer terror of him fucking the monkey in the ass and then running off screeching, their jaws dropped. That'll teach him to keep messing with me. Everyone's eyes were massive and speechless until they all busted out laughing as he said, "What?" And they said, "That wasn't a monkey, dickhead. It was Skeeter." And they all started laughing harder. It was classical. With the girls stripped down to their bra and panties, they wandered off into the forest as she walked up on Diesel, getting blown by a Borica. As she was in shock, she turned around, horrified of what she just saw, and it sounded like he was enjoying it with one palm on the tree trunk as she walked the other way with a liquor bottle in hand and a J in the other, and her smokes in her bra. She went and put a t-shirt and a pair of shorts on because she knew she was tripping at this point, but she wasn't that type. She wasn't gonna sit there and flaunt her shit. She started to slow down as she came to a tree. She rested her back on and standing there drinking as she saw Foos through the glass of the bottle, wearing boxer shorts. Like basketball silk shorts, just standing there staring off into nowhere as she drank and smoked before lighting a cigarette. As she looks at the bottle, then looks back at him, and she seemed confused. "Oh yeah, haha, I caught your girlfriend blowing my man. What do you gotta say about that, huh?" As she puts the bottle to her mouth and then looked up. He was walking towards her, but she's like, two wrongs don't make a right. I'm not that girl, dude. So, he looked like he was at McDonald's with his eyes. But then again, pissed to all hell. Out of nowhere, they started making loud noises, and not those kind of noises. Like in the distance, you could hear a screech and a shrill. It was very eerie and made the hair stand up on the arms. She turned around and walked away before she stopped suddenly to bend over and hurl. Vixen and Diesel did not talk for the rest of the night around the fire, but would periodically look up at each other from across the way every now and again before everyone turned in for the night. Vixena, so plastered, fell out on the grass by the pit as Diesel woke up in the early a.m. and carried her in and put her in the bed. When they woke 9 a.m. and came out, and they seen there were huge, massive cabin, like tree houses, tall up in the trees. Were they there before and we just didn't notice them? They had to have been. Tree houses don't just appear out of nowhere when they weren't there before. As they heard the morning bird song, as they looked around with their heads and even saw a white unicorn drinking from the lake. See, I told you. I thought I saw a unicorn. I wasn't going crazy. And I told you I got probed by a unicorn. There it is, right there. Yeah, the unicorn really probed you with his horn, replies Arkina. Were you drunk? No, I don't think so. As it turned, looked, and ran away, as Skeet came out of his cabin, his hair a mess. Why is my buttock so sore? Dude. Everyone just looked at each other with that smirk except for Foos, who really thought it was a monkey. They scrambled and finally came to the clearing as they chose to leave and regroup at a later time. Chapter 5, Out of the Woods. Crazy events and laughs. They were talking about all the crazy events while having few laughs and laughing about it as they tried to calm down to piece things together. So Tank, for some unknown reason, reached in his right pocket and pulls out an envelope with a card that read, "Cohabit the land." What? Seriously? What is that? Okay. Is that what it says? Says Arkina. It says cohabit the land and rebuild the tribe. As he read it out loud amongst the others. As it was very quiet momentarily before dispersing home for the night, 10:45 a.m. Hangover Valley. As everyone was chilling on Vixena's porch with their coffee in hand, as they were all greeting each other and waking up to face the day, standing there as this girl came walking up like her ass been pounded by a donkey, yet visually okay. They were all trying not to be rude and laugh as Tilly replies with, "What are you doing, chick?" As she looks passes before replying, "I'm gonna put my cheese bush on his face," as she points to Tank, and he sprayed coffee out of his mouth everywhere. Cheese bush? Ain't nobody want none of that. LMFAO. Everyone was dying laughing. Coffee cups dropped as they were rolling. I don't fucking think so. You can take that rat trap somewhere else. Oh my god, go home. And wash that shit. It's a jungle down there. Was explore like Diego. You might find a treasure. Everyone was rolling around on the ground, just losing it hard. Get your fucking nasty ass out of here. What the hell is wrong with you? Gags with his hand over his mouth and nose. Oh, God. Oh, yeah. I just queefed. You're making me hot and bothered, as he leaned over and vomited behind the bushes as Tilly came up and clocked her, knocking her right out on her ass. She woke up 10 minutes later, looked around and walked off looking confused. Tilly, well, that just happened. But sure was funny as hell. That's for sure. LOL. Tank. Yeah, paybacks are bitches. I'll remember that. Although that was quite a soccer punch. Ha ha ha. Everyone agreed and laughed about the whole thing, as that would be a memory to remember for damn sure. 101. Deidre's birthday. They had a huge, massive cookout and bonfire party. Everyone showed, as there was tables full of food and coolers of drinks, as one of the tables has her stuff on it for after they got crunked up, and it went normal with absolutely no issues at all. Just good old family and friend fun. When she sat down and started ripping them open, she noticed someone got her a pink vibrator, and it was rotating. A 7-foot vibrator, which was vibrating in the box, bouncing around, is why she opened it first, very weirdly looking at it and then looking at everybody else. Someone else got her 3 pair of edible crotchless panties. Is this a joke? They all busted out laughing so hard, and her face said it all. The next one was a necklace with a gold heart with white diamonds and the number 37 in the center. Another was a pair of leather stripper boot pants and a top, as she laughed as her eyes got huge and red-faced as she quickly shoved it back in the box. When the whip fell out and she froze as everyone lost it, she was afraid to open anymore. I don't know if I want to open any more of these. Y'all are really fucking with me. This is going to be a memory for y'all to remember on my part. Like, y'all are fucked up in the head. They laughed harder. Oh my fucking god moment. She closed her eyes and peeked as she opened it, as she peered inside to see a 3-foot-tall elf princess made of stone and glitter. But it wasn't the one at Vixina's. This one had mid-elbow length auburn red straight hair with black streaks. She freaked in excitement, acting like a 5-year-old, as everything elf was normal. But the others looked at each other thinking, another elf statue? They all rode ATVs down the trail and played hide and seek with Caden, now 5, and he laughed and ran around as they chased him in playing. Uncle Fuse says we're gonna have Guys' Day Friday, that we're going to Dairy Queen and mudding. Ain't that cool, Dad? As Diesel looks at Fuse, not breaking focus, as he replies after a slight pause, Yeah, that is, Bud, as he walks by Fuse, real close. Walking by, don't go making plans with my boy without checking with me first. As he walks away, back over with everyone else, as Foos just looked at him, walking away before doing the same. The next few weeks they crammed at work and busted ass, as the group ain't huge, but they ain't hung out at all. They been so busy. They haven't had time. Them Benjamins. Working together, it was all work, no play, trying to make it through the rough week, as they all planned to all get together and go mudding Friday. Usually Dee has him when they go, but she went and Tilly was chillin' at home, so she had Caden for the night. So they were looking forward to it. But the time Friday came, that afternoon they all hit the gym and stretched their muscles and worked out their sore spots before they all went out mudding, as Caden was there as usual, to which Tilly says that's not good for him. The last thing you need is a 5-6-year-old looking like he's on steroids. Diesel. Hey, no one will mess with him in school. Haha, besides, he can barely lift anything over that 5-pound dumbbell. Haha, relax, he's fine. She just gave him that look like he's lost his mind. All of a sudden, for the first time over a couple of years, they got another one of them snow-nados. As after they all walk out, and this time all looked at each other from afar and all went back inside and retired for the day. Not the same as before, page 105. Except as they woke and opened their door, as there was boxes on their porches, unmarked, as they carried them all inside and closed their doors. They all got the same note inside as the other. You will say nothing, as you will dress out and return to the heart of the forest. You shall not at any point disrobe and reveal yourself until told otherwise, as neither of you will know who each of you are. And this is done for a reason. Be there by 12 a.m. Your time starts now. Over at a family barbecue at the twins' parents' place, due to it's their cousin's 21st, and people were talking. Colleen had spread a rumor last week, stating one night Diesel was smashed at a party and was groping all over her all night, but Colleen has been known to wanna be a drama queen, always wanting the spotlight on her little ass. Fortunately, it has stayed downwind and somewhat at bay for the time being. After that, rumors were flying that she had spread out, with one being that Caden wasn't his, and just got worse from there. But of course, Vixina runs on trust, and he knew that ahead of time, so he was pretty much okay. He pretty much knew her, but the mind can be a devil. The mind can play tricks on you and do mysterious bad things. Boom, bitch. Savannah. For God's sake, Colleen, when is enough enough? Just for once in your life, shut the fuck up. You're far from perfect to wanna be placing blame on someone else like you're God's gift to men. Sheesh. She storms out and peels off in her 2010 Trailblazer as she went to the club for a few drinks and to unwind a little and set herself back at ease. But that night she got hammered and things went way wrong. To be terrible night that would have tremendous issues. The girls were all there drinking, and she heard her and her friends talking about what she had spread everywhere. As she tried calling his cell several times but got no answer or reply back for a while, he finally called back. When the reception was crackling in and out, but he heard bits and pieces of it before the phone went dead. Literally, his phone had died. He was out of town helping a buddy move into his new house. But he was definitely puzzled and was going to get to the bottom of what's going on. Meanwhile, Vixina took Caden and went to a hotel until she could officially talk to him. Diesel on the phone. Dude, I'm in traffic right now, but once I can, we need to talk. There's something going on, and I need to figure out what. Tank, yeah, bro, I'm chilling on my porch. Just pull up. Hung up. After an hour, he'd finally arrived, and by this time, Dee had texted Diesel saying we need to talk. So Diesel told Dee, go to Tank's, and Tilly showed, staring through the drapes. According to Through the Grapevine, as Tank's yard was bombarded by lifted trucks as they had a small barbecue with low music, having a few beers, talking, as Diesel inquires about Caden, referring to that one drunken night Foos took advantage of the situation at that party. Up against a tree, replied Tank. So he smirked and brushed that off and was not happy, but they were trying to figure out who started it until Dee said Colleen's name, and they all looked in silence. Page 108. It's going down. My girl and boy are in a motel because of Colleen. That bitch has had a thing for me since she got here. She's nothing but a home-wrecking whore. as he storms out as they all follow, peeling off into their trucks, following him as they went to their parents' place, sliding and parking on the grass as they all jumped out as they were all having Colleen's birthday party and totally crashed it in front of all of the twins' family. And there were a lot of them, as they all just stood there with their arms crossed, looking at her with fire in their eyes, so quiet you can hear a pin drop, until out of the blue, Tilly's truck came skidding around the corner as she jumped out of her truck with her driver's door open and went over and hauled off and slugged her ass. She was beating her ass down on the ground as Tank looked up at her family, all erratic, and calmly told them what she did, and they kicked her out and off the property and told her to never return again. Got wrecked. As they all left and gathered back at Tank's and ended up all getting smashed that next day, they took Kaden to the miniature skate park, followed by the fair that was in town, before retiring to a restaurant to go get food to go on home to unwind for the rest of the night. They all got cards in their mailbox, as the first night was a party, but no one showed and nothing happened, as each don't know who's who, as it was getting confusing and awkward. Two ninjas dressed all in black leather bodysuits with half cat masks, obviously, that came to their nose. They were females. Leather platform boots and chains. And it was obvious. But there was also two witches. Each was all decked out to the hilt and dressed to impress, but part of the mystery of what's going on. There were two warlocks. Every character had masks, two earth descendants, and a villain, as they headed out down the trail individually, all set out to each trail differently from one another, as each one had an opening with a single cabin campfire, as each of them stood at their station looking around, standing in one place, as a loudspeaker within the forest came on and was momentarily silent, but you could hear the crackling with a woman's voice. This once was a land of prosperity and joyance, once filled with mystical wonders and enchanted stars, as they called them. People deformed with some gifts and abilities, but the dead forest elf queen had put a nasty curse on this land that would keep the chosen ones from coming back, and her minions always out on the look, with one being Jasper, as he is the dead forest elf queen's little servant. Bristol Ledger, and she has the power of manipulation. It is your job to stop her, as when is done, this land will all be left in the darkness, and all that is will fade and perish. As they're the last of their kinds, you have to stop her and banish her from this world. Speaker, you'll find clues. Off. WTF, as each of them coincidentally all lipped, what the fuck, without any movement, as they stood there in shock that this was really even happening, as each of them retired to the cabins throughout the forest. There were mirrors, as when they removed their masks a bit, or fairy dust collects around the mass as they take it off and look as they all look like Final Fantasy V characters as they were animated when they're in the forest. They all amazed, some letting it go to their heads and others mildly confused as one of the sign trails read Hobbit Village, as there is a Hobbit Village, Elf Country, Fairy Falls, Meadows, Dream Hollow Magic Market, and Fool's Forest, and the Labyrinth of mazes, rooms, glitter, concrete, and the labyrinth was all made of glitter and stone and brick walls and tiles. Deep in the forest, Earth Descendants Valley, which looks like Wizard 101, all roads and buildings glittered stone and brick surrounding the fish lake as the shops were of no other. TV. Books, candles, potions, attire. There was a creature pet adoption, kitty care, daycare, town hall, which was a massive cul-de-sac with 3 to 4 bedroom log cabins lined around edge to edge the cul-de-sac. Within front, you would be finding a massive field completely glittered stone and sidewalks with street signs and a forest and a blacksmith shop and also a mount shop. It looks like the main town in Wizard 101 with the arched brick doorways and walkways and a huge kiddie park that looked like an Alice in Wonderland inspired baseball field playground. Simply magical. There was a huge country bird house on a wooden stand on every field, and bird feeders, gorgeous huge gazebos, huge 5-foot tall play hangout house, and so much more. Picnic tables, fairies, deers, tropical birds in the trees, vines, thick vines to swing from tree to tree houses and the trees, wooden rope bridges going from one to another, a huge massive town, in-ground pool with all the accessories, diving board, water slides, and even the floaties to go with floating in the mist. Residents for a while. So much more fishing ponds. They all woke to an envelope that read, "During the day you can be normal. When night falls, be dressed out always until you turn in for the day." But they were each separately deep in the forest and wouldn't be able to recognize each other as they all looked like Final Fantasy V-6 animated characters. And the town kinda had that look also with the bridge and the highways and roads and the skyboard walks with plexiglass walls and floors. People were flying around on brooms, dragons, eagles, such. It was pretty awesome with tunnels, open and spacious, all plexiglass lined pathways with arcade machines, bouncy houses, Chuck E. Cheese, and a boardwalk, and a claw and coin machine. But before finding it, first they would have to find each other, or they would find each other there. Only time would tell. The surprises around every corner. Rainforest like rainforest you've never seen, with the view of like Lion King, with the wilderness in the forest, lingering, scurrying about as they walk along with backpacks equipped. Vixena was the first to arrive. Unfortunately, when she got there, she ducked behind a building as she dressed out due to it was already starting to get dark, as she did just that, as shortly after the others had arrived, and they did the same, as they bunked up for the night, not giving the mystery quite yet chance before turning down. Of course, the labyrinth part was full of stone hidden rooms throughout and courtyards so full of mystery and suspicions and creatures that they've never seen before. Morning broke as a loud rooster crowed as everyone was waking for the day, as they got another note that read, "You're safe, no need to dress out." That was a sigh of relief, although still couldn't tell their role quite yet. Each was a mystery, but they didn't care, as they could start finally looking for clues as a team once they find one another, that is. The place seemed like ghost town, totally uninhabited, or all in just complete blank. All the brick roads and everything were just bare and empty. Mysterious creatures. Zoanna walking slowly and suspiciously around, looking, watching every direction as she puts her hands on her hips to relax and take a sigh of breath when someone walked up on her from behind and made her jump about 10 feet with a hilarious and facial expression as she quickly turned around. "Who the hell are you? Who the hell are you?" asked you first. The guy took a pause before saying he was Tank as she squinted and looked at him funny, with her hand over her chin. "Nice, yeah, I guess we're Final Fantasy avatars now?" As Tank replies with, "Well, I ain't complaining, I look pretty damn good," as he laughed, as neither has found the others yet, as she saw a girl struggling playing tug-of-war with a monkey trying to get her feather portfolio back. She has a messenger bag that is in her hand and he is trying to grab. As the small monkey was screeching and laughing at her, as a football hit it in the side of the head and sent it flying in the air and launched it 20 feet away as their eyes got really big. "Who's who?" "That monkey catapulted. Holy cow," says Zoanna, laughing her ass off as he's looking around as he sees a dude, which turned out to be Fuse, until they all had finally met up by the nightfall while exploring Earth Descendants Valley 2, which would technically take forever. Take the Dark Crystal Wizard 101 in Final Fantasy 5 and 6, and that's what the whole town looks like. Simply amazing. And sight to never forget. They all gathered at the Grillin' Field near the cul-de-sac, grilling burgers and talking about everything going on so far, trying to make sense of everything, trying to come up with solutions to help handle the situation at hand, as they spent a couple much needed time exploring and having fun, as there were two huge massive 8 to 10 person trampolines 10 foot round, each with strong nets. They all had a frickin' blast, and by the end of the day they were all exhausted as they retired to their cabins for the night around 1 a.m. Chapter 6. Residing at Earth Descendants Valley for a while. As usual. A note, a single one this time, that just says you're running your lives in a real world at the same time as being here, so no need to worry, as they all agreed, oddly yet assuring, talking and laughing about one another. and their encounters throughout individually. They were all 3 to 4 log cabins, single story, all red cedar interior, wood vaulted ceilings, natural lighting, raptor windows, and pure cedar loft smell all the time. Stone fireplace, all stone flooring, as outside was stone walk-in kitchen. They finally figured by the next note that this land was built by Vixena in another life, as the Indian descendant Bambi would make Vixena the 4th-generation descendant. Vix was just notionless and motionless and didn't move for 5 minutes as it started snowing. Snow flurries on her head and cloaking the ground as she looked around. No one has known where she is or what happened with Bambi, as you're lucky if you come in contact with her at all. You see her when she wants you to see her, and nothing before. Long, black, and bluish highlighted, slinky, curly, wavy hair down to her waist, 38, 5 foot 2 inches tall, bright green eyes, almost neon green, with minor small blue lines, and about 128 pounds. She had 2 braids in front of her hair with glitter of all colors, all in her hair, wearing a black dress open in the front, Indian style, with black slacks and furry boots, with decked out makeup, and looked in her 20s with a powerful earth magic and abilities, although Vixena was danced with everything for a long while, as she had a lot of unanswered questions, as she hasn't seen her since she was 5, due to her grandparents raised her due to a mysterious circumstance, which they tell her very little about her life or want to. They woke as they all stood in the doorway looking out, as supposedly this is their kingdom and they had to keep it that way, as they're coming up to where random events will unfold along the way, walking, brushing their hands through their hair with their coffee, and just in zombie mode for about roughly 10 minutes. Wildlife. The wilderness was waking up. The birds were perched in trees, bird bass on the ground, the squirrels chasing each other, a family of deer standing in the back of the field gazing with their young and keeping an eye out, rabbits, lizards, monkeys all doing their own thing, as Fooz's eyes got huge as he pointed and yelled after looking twice, "Is that a fucking gnome? Ugly little motherfucker, too," as the gnome Creed came peering out and says, "Fuck you, pretty boy, you're just one to talk, with your Justin Bieber looking like NSYNC boy ass," flipping him the bird and running away as he ran after him, pissed, vanishing in the forest as everyone's laughing their ass off. Tilly, wow, laughing hysterical. That just happened. It took them back momentarily, as if at first they just thought he was tripping, and then saw the little dude, as he looked no older than in his 20s ranged, looked like Frodo, about 1.5 feet tall, with a baseball hat, and he looked as if there was a gnome white version of Snoop Dogg that would be him, Creed, the son of the leader and King Queen Lucifer, the female version of Lucifer. Gnome Land. And there were A total of 14 of them. Their village was set up looking like the nightmare before Christmas in a mouse forest with not much light that shines through. Yet the moonlight gives it an eerie feeling settling down to dawn. They are night lurkers and mostly non-hostile, except for Rodney and Bryce. They were the Beavis and Butthead jackass besties, standing about 5 foot, 138 pounds. One with hair that resembled Richie Rich, and the other another Caucasian skinny 4'9", 134, and Woody Woodpecker hair, and both with hazel brown eyes. Twins at that. But one is dumber than a sponge, and the other is smart, but overthinks everything. No one has stepped foot into their parts for over 12 years, and it's been very peaceful. They called it the land of the different, as they had decided to share the lands with the fays and the elves and the ninjas, as they're the only ones that accept the woodlurkers into the parts due to they build a village of mushroom homes, standing 6 foot tall, as they are no taller than 4'9". They scavenge and live off the land and barter to survive and get by. Magical Tribe Ranch. As Vic sat on her freshly stained front deck due to she stained the rail trims with her first fresh cup of coffee, as she released a sigh of awe, finally being able to sit down, as she thought, whoa, wait a minute, we were stuck there, how was I able to come out? And I don't even remember coming back, and that really stumped her, as she knows she could do what her great-grandmother could do, orb in and out of places, and astro travel and jump from place to place. All she had to do was think where she wanted to be. But how the hell would she tell the others? Oh, the monkey that was messing with live wire. That means I gotta wait until he came around again. Ugh. As she's thinking to herself, so she wrote a note and pinned it to the bottom of the steps on the bottom of the railing post beside it, with monkey on the front. I hope he can read, ha ha ha. And sits back on the porch, sat down before realizing she needed a refill, so she went in to make a fresh cup of coffee. By the time she came back out, the note was gone, as she smiled and sat back down, overlooking her ranch with the sky lit up with the sunset orange, pink, and beautiful blues. Colors, as it just captured her for a moment as she smiled. Ravna is the female version of Lucifer, known as the Dark Queen, as the people were whispering about how she hates the White Queen. But how can you hate someone you don't even know or haven't even seen or met or talked to? As she doesn't know who she even is. Not many do. Meanwhile, back at the Lost Woods, in the realm of magic, everyone was wrestling around with their nerves, trying to figure out what the hell was going on, and trying to figure out how to leave. As the monkey appeared again, as Livewire had that Tom and Jerry look on his face and says, "What the hell do you want?" As he tells him with his finger on his chin, "Well, it's more like what you want, asshole," and laughing hysterically. You want some of this? You don't want none of this." As he threw the note and took off, as they read it, followed the instructions, and then they were all back in their living room, sitting on their couches, just sitting there in shock, recollecting what just happened. And in shock, it was real and not a dream, being a lot to take in, but they enjoyed the journey as they thought it was a wild adventure for sure, one that they would never forget or probably possibly never even journey to again. Page 118. So what now? Would any of them go back, return? It's a mystery, but at least lands were now safe for another century, hopefully with a new seal barrier over the whole magic town and lands. But for a long while they went back to their daily lives and worked their jobs and maintained their home lives and just kept to themselves for a while, as they still called and texted and kept in contact. For over 4 years, it's been normal, calm, and just like any other beautiful day, and went through the 4 seasons. They all discussed via group chat that there would be no reason to return other than to visit or just to fuck with them. Good one, Livewire, as he replies with, hey, that damn monkey was bullying me, as they all had their LOLs and ROFLs, as he replied, screw you guys, I'm out, as his green online bubble went to red. Livewire Diesel was mowing their lawn, as the monkey is sitting on the bottom step with his head in his lap as he walked over without shutting the mower off as it ran, while Diesel sat on the porch while Foos mowed. He laughed. He laughed along with him because he couldn't understand why he was laughing. He thought he was just laughing at him, as everybody usually does. As he looks over and he seen that the mower had ran right over the top of a fat Persian hairy cat, as it shrieked really loud, as you seen bald fat cat run away, fearing for his life, then hit a tree and stalled as he stood there. Oh, damn. As he turned his head back and asked him if he was crying, as he says he did not even know he had feelings, with the Puss in Boots' sad eyes looked up and asked him if he could live with him, as he pointed his finger, swinging it around at the monkey and waving it about, saying a lot at once, as he just looked at him like amazed. He didn't even take a breather. There will not be no wild monkey parties. You got that? No slinging poop anywhere. You're not a human, but you need to be a human. That means learn how to use a damn toilet and to clean up after yourself. And don't wreck my house. As the monkey says to him, you done now? As he replies with, yes, maybe. And he walks away while keep looking back at him sitting on the couch. And don't call me Bieber. Now I'm done. As he walks into his room and closes the door. Page 120. As the monkey holding up his right hand as he counts down from 5, and when it gets to 2, he opens the door, looking at him confused, as he rushes over and sits on the couch looking at him oddly, as he asks what's wrong with his home. as he tells him that he was the only one left of his kind and is seen as an outcast, as he was born with magical abilities, as in seeing the past, present, future, able to communicate telepathically, and they all thought he was a freak after turning an old friend into a girl monkey. Changeling. His changing his gender with a squeaky voice as he placed his hand on his knee and gave him that, trying to be serious look, as the monkey says, "Dude, what's wrong with your face? Are you trying to be serious? It's not working for you. You look constipated." "Oh, sorry. Go on. You were saying?" I got really awkwardly quiet before he got up and went back into his room for the rest of the evening, and the monkey laid on the couch in front of the fireplace and went to sleep to Curious George on TV. Monkey has to prove himself. Back in the magic realm, the monkey's neighbors were talking about how Rodney the monkey had ran away, as the others were saying that he couldn't even tie his damn shoes alone make it far out of the jungle, or even know what running away even is. And last, as the others were saying, running away to him is having a summer slumber party at someone's house, as they all laugh harder. The day slowly got cloaked with the darkness setting in as the moon would shine bright with a neon pink and purple glow, and a hazy gray cloud slowly moving in and creeping up on the night, as you hear the wolves howl in the distance. 3 years has passed, Monkey had, as he had called him, Diesel, as he made himself right at home and wasn't a bother, yet became a really good friend, as everyone had mentioned going back, as he'd always do. He would always go to that question, or he would change the subject when he would ask him if he was ever gonna go back. So he just let it go and went about his business. No one ever knows what the future will bring, as with anything, of course, will hold, etc. Everything will unfold around you. You just have to pay attention, watch, feel, see, and listen very closely, and things will appear. Chapter 7. What do you mean there's another realm? Rearing off to the end. Elf country. The elves had been training hard and always being prepared for anything, and stealth training was the ninjas' day and night. The faces sometimes would linger in the rose field from the time to time due to the smell was a fascinating aphrodisiac, relaxing their minds and unclouding themselves, almost therapeutic. Sometimes they'd gather fruits and berries for their food storage. Word had spread throughout all the lands about Rodney's great escape, as they were all calling it, but no one knew where or why, or even thought he knew how to access the portal to the mortal realm. So they were astonished as well as confused at the same time. People were talking about the mermaids of the Crystal Magic Lake, but no one knew about what as all they heard was pre- prepare and be prepared. As they jumped in the water with their blue, green, purple, and neon blue fins, as they were sitting on the edge of the seashore moments before, as they usually do, only come out in the evenings, but this time was only for about 4:30 p.m. Merland. The mermaids, mermen, and water creatures. Page 123. All the tropical fish in schools, scurrying and swimming about the sea. The seahorses of all colors hanging around the corrals and reefs, dolphins swimming and watching their young. A girl and a boy play and swim about as mom and dad laugh and look at each other proud as they raise good mammals. You had known ones as the dolphins twins were Cheshire being the boy and Sapphire being the girl. As then you have Cheech the hippie turtle and Chong the clownfish who's lost some brain cells at birth. The dolphin mom and dad was Chaz and Bailey. And last but never least, the fat crab, they would call him Trigger, a very comical group, full of mystery, and they watched everything around them. Hey, watch this! Moments as many laughters would appear. One time Cheech turned around quickly and knocked Chong in the side of the head with his fin, leaving him shaking his head and being dizzy, adjusting his eyes, as Cheech would always reply with, "Oh man, my bad. I didn't see you there." Wildlife matters. As he'd reply with, "Yeah, I bet that." With that sad, side-eye, stink-eye look, and went off into the fog, clouding, and then just disappeared. Crystal Magic Lake Springs. A gorgeous 12-foot tall waterfall lined with all sizes of rocks, all glittered with the tropical multicolored water. With 10 feet away was a 12-foot by 12-foot hot spring with tropical flowers and mushrooms sitting in a field in the in the center of it all. Also were the secret, cloaked and protected wildlife sanctuary and safe haven home called Noah's Ark, as every wildlife animal you could think of, except for spiders and snakes, as there were none. A huge 24-acre wildlife village with caves, tree houses, and wooden bungalows as their homes. As sometimes wildlife be crazy, but the class clowns were Becker the skunk, Benny the bunny, Trevor the white bear, and Eddie the squirrel. They'd always go out of their way and to prank and mess with each other's minds and laugh. LMFAO, total roll on the ground moment. Eddie had this addiction. to swiping humans' coffee off picnic tables and outside diner dining tables, and coffee would wire him up for the whole entire day, turning him into Flash the superhero with huge buggy eyes and hyperspeed. He asked a lot of questions very rapidly, very inquisitive, that one. Benny's routine was always gathering berries and stealing lettuce heads from crop potters at night, but would always get a huge laugh off of catching Rodney in the back of the head, with thumping him from behind with his hind legs, making him fly 4 feet, flipping and rolling over on the ground like a tumbleweed as he'd sit up, feel his head, shake it for a second, give him that evil eye as Benny rolled around on the ground laughing his ass off, holding his belly. Back at the Magical Tribe Ranch, as after a grueling 9 months of court and documentation, Vix's family lost their lawsuit against her for the judgment of 1.2, with everything being in Vix's name, so they could not touch it ever, even if they wanted to. So she was relieved to get that phone call from her attorney. Skeet, they called him, but his name is actually Foos, and a damn good attorney, as he never lost a case in the 16 years he'd been in law. But she knew that war was far from over, as they were some real bottom feeders. She could feel it and sense it from within her inner core, and right as those thoughts came across her mind, as she was discussing the case with her best friend and bro Karjay, as here comes flying down her dirt long drive and jumping out of the car, leaving his door open as he stands there with his arms thrown up in the air and momentarily says nothing with his hands on his hips, looking at her, then over at his brother, before saying, "Really? Thanks to you. Trina, my 8-year-old, can't have her leg surgery to have pins put in due to a fall, to which is $5,000 I can't afford. So you can think about that when you lie in your cozy bed with your head down to rest tonight, sis." Getting heated. 127. As Karjay stands up as he says, "What? What's up, homie? You feeling froggy? Leap, bitch." As Vixina stands up and speaks up, saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold your damn britches and put on the brakes right there, asshole." As his face cringes, "You never not once came to me, asked me for help for nothing. Not once. Because that's my niece and you know damn well I would've, first of all. And secondly, hello. If you were a real man," as she slowly walked to the porch stairs, and he was only standing 30 feet by his Toyota car, leaning on the hood with his butt and arms across, "as got a damn job instead of living off our Aunt Tia at 20 years old. Hell, I'm only 24 and I got my own shit together. as he replies with, "No, no, that's because it was all handed to you." As she immediately says, "No, I earned every cent from age 8 and invested in stocks and more." As he says, "Oh, so now you think you're better than me now?" raising his voice. As she adds, "No, Nikolai. Unlike you, I don't want to be a deadbeat loser and parent while living off my family all my life because I want to be something and someone I can be proud of. A deadbeat bitch." And right as he said that and went to charge at her out of nowhere, he got slug punched right in the side of the head as he went to sit up and pulled a pistol from his jacket pocket and went to shoot her as she shot him twice, once in the right shoulder and once in the side, as he slowly fell and passed out. She called the cops as Diesel, Fuse, Reaper, Tank, Livewire, D were all standing there with their arms crossed, looking down at him as the cops pulled up with 8 cruisers as she threw her gun in the holster while removing the clip while looking at CarJ disappointed and pissed to all hell. Thanks. Thanks. You were a real trooper. You did nothing. You just fucking stood there, dude. You're my brother. You're supposed to be the good one. You did nothing. As she went in and slammed the door, rattling the glass. Whoa, Karen. Shattering the glass etched window momentarily after a few seconds. It was an etched fey mural out of the door frame as it all fell to the deck floor as he stood there not knowing what to do or say, trying to recollect that just happened, as the guy still standing as they were looking down at the ground and back at him, saying, "Dude, you need to seriously let your balls drop and grow a pair. That's your sister, man." As they shake their heads and walk off and leave. She was not charged due to it was ruled self-defense, but he was locked up and sentenced to 5 years in, and when he gets out, he will be on pro for 6 months and has to serve 100 hours of community service as a substitute teacher for Sunday class. If he completes it all, he will get off. If he completes it all, he will get off. If he gets in trouble again, he serves 10 years with the chance of parole only and not a minute before 7 years incarcerated and has to check in every Friday and account for his day, if necessary, to feel they need to ask at any point in time. Karma at its finest. So clearly, she was definitely not happy as she walks inside, whispering under her breath, "What are they gonna try and sue me for? That they gonna try and sue me for that too? Ugh." And as a matter of fact, they did. Well, Nikolai did anyways, filing saying that he was emotionally disturbed and distressed from her attacking him and shooting him, and stress and PTSD, and she responsible for all of his medical bills, and that he should be entitled to compensation. And guess what? The little rumple fucker won and got $15,000. She had to pay him, but the kicker was she didn't until the doctor knew that the bill would be directly paid to the ER, and after they will get their cut from the hospital bill, then they will cut him a check for the remainder balance when he's discharged, so he can't skip out on the hospital bill as he always does. That morning she thought it was a beautiful day to take a horseback ride through her 24 acres of land, although now she knew she had more. She bought up the land around her due to trust issues and privacy. About 800 feet away off into the woods was Dreamy Hollow, the Indians' reserve, and tribes scattered throughout the 10 acres of land. It just got real. Page 131. As she slowly trotting along as starlight, her pure white horse with silk long kneecap length white mane and glassy purplish blue with neon tint eyes, would graze the ground, chewing on the grass, and she slowly walked along the trail as she heard a scuffling noise in the bush as about 6 Indians stepped out and was demanding her to leave their sacred ground immediately. Young lady, but she sought to see it differently. Excuse me, sir, but, finger on her chin, I own all this land, and you, sir, jackass, can kiss my rebel ass. Stick that in your peace pipe and smoke it. As a short 5 foot 1 inch long jet black curly hair down to her hips, looking no older than 28, athletic, with hazel brown eyes and about 128 pounds, comes to find out she's the Indian White Witch. Littlefoot steps out and waves her hands as they all disperse and leave. She just stands there looking at her with her hand on her chin, as she struck that a bit odd to her as she began to speak to her, and that did not go well. That did not go so well at all. For Bambi, anyways. I am your real mother. Wow, people were not lying when they said you look like me. It's almost like looking into a mirror. As she got a cringy look fall upon her face. First of all, hold up. My mother's dead. She passed a few years ago as my parents had a fatal car accident with a several car pileup, Lady, I don't know who you think you are, or whoever you're portraying to be, but you aren't my mother. Besides, I'd never seen or met you before today. As she trots away, mumbling, man, that lady's completely bonkers. Loopy-loo, as she does the finger motion to her right ear, holding the reins with her left as she goes home and lets her run after removing and hanging up Starlight's bejeweled purple and white camo saddle, of course, just to trimmage, and went in and got a fresh cup of coffee and sat on her front deck and outlooked and scanned her land. 1:33. Rodney's gone. As Dee returned home from work and threw his keys down on the table and made coffee as he stood there at the bar with his coffee in hand, he'd noticed as he looked around and under stuff, wow, really? And knew he'd left and didn't leave a note or nothing. He didn't think anything of it, as he thought, well, maybe he took my advice and went back home to prove them all wrong about him. So he went out on his front porch, standing there, drinking his hot coffee, looking out and scanning. But as he came walking around on the back of the house to check his barn, with his workshop inside, he grabbed a tennis racket and swung it at the evil elf that was terrorizing Rodney, as his little 3-foot ass went flying and hitting the wall like a tennis ball, and held out his hands to help him up, as there were literally stars of red spinning around his head as his eyes would roll and go, and pass out before disappearing. LOL. Who the hell was that? As the monkey tells him he don't know. 1 minute he was watching Gremlins, and the next he was in a burlap and carried to the barn. As Dee replies with, his little ass carried you in a burlap. As at this point he's irritated and told him, yeah, moron, how else would I get here? And with whomever that was. Hello, that was alive? Says, well, I'm glad we got that cleared up. As he threw a tantrum and jumped on the couch with Curious George with his little arms crossed and smug look death stare at TV. As, okay, then and goes to shower, mumbling, I could have got probed, no joke, before. Ugh. Rodney fell asleep on the couch. Out of nowhere, you hear his loud music coming from the 100-acre woods as Eddie, this loud music, as Eddie stood on his hind legs with a acorn in hand with a peanut butter on it, as he stood there and watched Trevor, the tall 9-foot-tall white bear, shaking his buttocks and arms and to Welcome to the Jungle rock song as he stood and watched in amazement, eating his peanut butter. As he says, wow, that's just really something. I've definitely seen it all now. Wait, what? What's on his butt? As he looked closer, there was a chipmunk flattened with his arms straight out on his bum. He must have sat on him as the little guy fell off, didn't move for a moment, before screaming and running away for his life as he dropped his acorn, rolling around on the ground, pointing and laughing hysterically before saying, "Oh, that was just great," before walking away and leaving. The bear, of course, standing there with a confused look, scratching his head before going back to his cave for the remainder of the night, as he took the little boombox with a carry strap back with him. This here is coming home with me. As he looks around, as he grabs it and runs off funnily, laughing on the way. All the lands were back to normal, and as well as the town folk and such, as everything was finally back in order. The end.